Hey everyone. Um, it's been quite a while since I've sat down to cut a video. Um, Not exactly sure why or why not. I guess it's just what unfolded over here. And this morning I just sat down to meditate, and after just a few minutes I realized that there's been something percolating that I guess needed to be expressed. Um, and in part it's because of what's kind of going on here. I'd say there's some more oscillation taking place over here. Uh, for a while, this in the post-awakening process, there was a real strong sense of stability, and in many ways, there still is. But there's been a bunch of recent events, mostly mostly dealing with the death of a couple of our older dogs over here, and there's been the experience of grief. Um, in fact, I've been compelled to, at times, to sit down and try to express what's going on with my grief, but also to kind of approach grief from a spiritual perspective. What is it? What's going on with grief? Well, I was going to talk about the personal side of grief, the universal side of grief, that is, it's experienced by just about everyone, and there's evidence that uh, other animals experience grief as well. There's a collective side to grief, collective grief, and even a divine grief. But anyway, that wasn't the point of this video. The point of this video is that there's been just some continued um, oscillation. I'm not even sure it's oscillation. Point is, what I've been noticing is that um, I've been noticing the arising of the I, not I. And you'll notice this little red spot up there. It looks like I have a sty in my eye. I could feel it, and I just noticed it on the video. It looks a little red. I'll go ahead and produce this video anyway. Uh, the Many of the spiritual teachers talk about the I am. Nisargadatta, very clear. Ramana Maharshi, and most modern day spiritual teachers, the crux of the matter of spiritual awakening is to recognize that we are not our thoughts. And the very first thought is that of I am. Now, after that comes other thoughts where we start identifying with our roles and behaviors and ideas and belief systems. And so we say, I am something. I am Vincent. I am, and we maybe our occupation, maybe our role inside of a family. I am a father. I am a son. I'm a brother. Uh, and this is the start of suffering, is our identifications with the stories of who we think we are. Like an onion with many layers. And if you start peeling off the layers, you start seeing what it is that you're not. This is the neti approach of non-duality. You start to investigate what you are not. You see that belief systems are just ideas. The roles we play are just the roles we play. We are not the role we play. And layer by layer by layer, which is one approach, is to start stripping off layer by layer by layer to see what it is that we're not. But ultimately, we come down to seeing that we are not the me we think we are. We are not the label that has been given to us as a child. We are not the person we think we are. And if you start really investigating that really clearly, you start seeing that there really is no me. The me is just a social construction. And it's a very difficult thing to address or face because we're all constantly bombarded with the fact that the people believe that there is one for themselves and for others. We play our roles with other people. We have relationships with other people. They call us by our name. We answer to that name. But the difference between someone who perhaps is awakened to reality and someone who is not is when you answer to your name, someone who is not awake to their own reality is they will believe that that's who they are. And someone who is awake to their own reality realizes that that's not who they are. Sure, they answer to the name. I still answer to Vincent, and all variations of that. That's who I am. But even deeper than that is the questioning of what is prior to the me. And the real first thought is just that of I am. Because it's very difficult to deny that there's a subjective component to our existence. There is an awareness of being aware. There is an awareness of what is being perceived. But that awareness of what is being perceived, that awareness of our own awareness, is still dualistic. Because now you're giving credence to the the witnessing state. And to be quite honest, this is what my awareness, I use words loosely here, this is what's unfolding here is seeing that first I am. It's noticing how often and frequent, almost constantly, it arises. You could say moment by moment by moment, but truly there aren't really any moments except from that perspective of I am, because I am is dualistic. I am, I am exists in space and time. So what is it that's prior to the I am? If you can see the I am arising, even if you don't identify with it, which is most of us do, it's an unconscious thing. We identify with that I am, just like we identify with our me. But if you've gotten past the me and you're still seeing the I am as I have been, what is it that's observing the I am? If there's if observation of I am is happening, then what is it that's observing the I am? I don't know. But that is, you can say, what I am. It's right. It's a roundabout paradox. What it really is direct experience. The direct experience of this right now, prior to any thought of an observer, of a witness. I won't deny that witnessing is occurring, but that's a recognition that that what we are is more of a verb than a noun. It's not that there's an I that is witnessing something else. There's witnessing. Before a thought arises, what is that? Now, what's really bizarre is that investigation itself requires the use of our mind. We ask the question with our mind, use language with our mind, but the looking at it is a mental shift in perception. It's a shift in focus, and you can't actually touch that which is prior to the I am. How can you? Because that's your true nature. That is what you and me, that is what we are, is that which is prior to the I am, the pure, direct experience of what's happening right now. There was a time I spent investigating what is perception, perception and awareness. And ultimately there was some more insight. There was a deepening of there's more clarity occurring in a sense. When recognition is that what is being perceived is none other than awareness. And awareness is none other than perception. It sounds bizarre because, again, but there was a recognition because it was still dualistic, perception, awareness, awareness of a perception. That's the witnessing state. But there was a collapse of that. And that's direct experience. Direct experience has no observer or object of observation. Direct experience is just direct experience, and that is the crux of the matter. That is the razor's edge, because that direct experience includes both. No one is having an experience. Experience is just happening. Language is insufficient, because anytime we use language in that manner, it begs the question, well, who's having that experience? And that's a good question to ask. But in communicating this, although we can ask the question, and I encourage you to ask the question, ultimately the question itself has to be dropped. What's happening right now? My training is Zen Buddhism. Spent close to 30 years working with teachers of a Japanese lineage of Zen Buddhism that was brought to America back in the late 60s, early 70s, maybe, I don't know the exact time frame. And those of you who know my biography or could look it up on dragonspearl.org, know who those teachers are. But in my tradition, we use koans to investigate this direct perception. And many of these koans point to that, point to you, point to direct perception. There's a very famous one where Shakyamuni Buddha holds up a flower in front of an audience of thousands of people. Don't know how many really were there. He holds up a flower. That was his talk. What is he doing? Is he just, you know, being a flower child, smelling the flower? Why is he holding up a flower? The rest of the koan is about, there's a fellow out there, one of his disciples, one of his followers, Mayakaya Shapa, who smiled. Yeah, he got it. He saw what the Buddha was doing. He was pointing to direct experience. He was pointing that in this flower is the entirety of your existence. In this flower is you. What you perceive, and again, language, what is being perceived, and the awareness of that perception co-arise. They're happening. They are the same. It appears to be two sides of the coin. You know, when we talk about in Buddhism relative and absolute, the relative being the phenomenal universe, the phenomenal world, and the absolute being the absolute basis of reality, this non-differentiated consciousness, which is utterly empty. It's void. There's no thing there. Nothing there. Nothingness. Deathless. Emptiness. That's the absolute basis of reality. And yet form is emptiness. That's in the Heart Sutra of Buddhism. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. They're one and the same. They're not separate. From the perspective of our minds, we talk about them as if they're two different things, but they're one and the same. This is a paradoxical statement. How can they be one and the same? What is form? What is emptiness? Language can be used to say, well, emptiness is the nothingness that contains everything, all form. It just doesn't make sense. Ultimately, even that inquiry has to get dropped because there's nothing but what's happening right now. Direct experience. Let's call it direct experience. Experiencing is happening. Language, again, is insufficient because language by its very nature is dualistic. But language can be used to direct your attention to that razor's edge. What are you? Who are you? Who is listening? Well, what is listening to this talk? What is it that's perceiving a world? Is that which is perceiving the world independent of the perception itself? There's a really good point of inquiry right there. Inquiry right there. Is that which is perceiving the world separate from the perception itself? Really look. Watch your mind. This is why meditation is really, really good and powerful. If you're really watching your mind, what's arising? And what is it that's prior to the arising of anything? Going back to how I opened this is kind of a point of investigation that's been going on here for a little while, because there was still some identification with the I am, that sense of existence, that sense of being, that it is this. But the investigation leads one to see that that is just a thought. The I am. It's like I can almost feel it arising. Here's the I am. What's prior to that? What's arising? Where is it arising from? That's your true nature. And if you could see that the I am, let alone the me, but if you could see the I am, become aware of that first thought of I am, even if it's not expressed as an I am. In this case, it's a felt. It's felt. When I say I see it, it's more of a feeling. It's an energy. It's an energy. It's an energy pattern, an energetic creation of this world through the I am. So just look at it. Take some time. Step back. Now, other thoughts might arise, things you got to do, what you want to do, the usual day-to-day mental activity. They're all there too. I mean, mine haven't completely disappeared either. A very active mind. My mind is a very active mind. But you just don't have to believe those thoughts. You don't have to identify with these thoughts. There's, I forget who said it. There's a teacher that once said, um, thoughts come and go. Just do not serve them tea. Don't invite them in and keep them around. They rise, they fall away. 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 It is a constant churn. And that's part of our conditioning, and our mental conditioning, our emotional conditioning, our physical conditioning, our genetic conditioning, our environmental conditioning. But in this form. This is a human being. Human beings have minds. We use language, so our minds can be very, very active. But start seeing that those thoughts, you start recognizing, and you can investigate, well, what is it that's perceiving those thoughts? From what are those thoughts arising? What is the ground of being out of which those thoughts arise? You don't have to identify with those thoughts. You do not have to believe those thoughts. See him, let him go. See him, let him go. And it's the same process that's used to investigate what it is you think you are. Who is this me? Who are you? Who are you? And then you can investigate it further. What is the original thought? I'm calling it the I am. Others have, well, I'm not coming up with this on my own. I'm just encapsulating and summarizing a very key teaching of both Buddhism and non-duality. It's the inherent investigation of what exists prior to any thought, including this sense of I. Drop the I. What's left? Drop the M. Emming, M, A-M, I am. Drop the I. Drop the M. What's that? Right there. Clarity. Sure, you can. I have a little tinnitus in my ears. That's, you could hear the ringing, but it's like a thought. It's just there. There's suddenly a thought arises, recognizes that there's up an apparent someone sitting in front of a computer cutting a video. The creation of separation occurs. Coffee mug, coffee. Who's tasting the coffee? Who picked up the mug? I mean, all that's part of the activity of the mind. What's prior to that? Turn your attention back on itself. What is prior to any thought, including the thought of I? And even there's nothing to hold on to. This can be a scary process because you start to realize that this direct experience is empty. The mind comes in, the egoic function, the sense of me wants to hold on to something. It's a scary thing for the mind to even admit to itself that it's just a tool, that there is no me. And it's a weird thing. What is it that's holding on? What is it that's afraid? If the me doesn't really exist, then what is it that's afraid? There's a thought, there's an identification with a thought. Maybe if I truly let go, I will die. Well, yeah, the me that never existed in the first place, so it can't die, but there's a sense of death. That's what it is. There's a holding on to a protection. Oh, I need to protect that which I believe, but the belief is just a thought. The me is just a thought. This is actually when I had my great awakening. That was the realization. There was a death of the me. And what was phenomenally, I'm not sure that phenomenally is the right word, but taking place in sort of a phenomenal perspective. I remember one of my first thoughts was, I'm still here. It wasn't quite complete now in retrospect, but there was the recognition that what that there was a death of that which I thought I was. There was a death of the me. There was a letting go. Finally, in fact, I think that was my first word, was finally. Ah, finally. It's still powerful. Just bringing up the memory now. Finally. And then suddenly, there was the second thought that followed was, I'm still here. No, it's the me died, and yet there's awareness. And the awareness was able to use the mind to communicate this. That's why the I am still here. There was still an I am, but there's no longer an identification with the me. It was recognition that what I am was all this. And maybe that's why, for the past few months, I've been kind of quiet about this. There's been a sense of, well, what am I trying to do? What am I trying to teach? I'm not quite as clear as I had thought or had hoped to be, which is just a thought. I'm clear as I am. Clarity is as clarity is at this moment. But I think there was the recognition that there is still this sense of I am. When I had this great awakening, and I say I had a great awakening happened, there was that sense of I am still here. Although I shifted my perception from the me to this broader I, so now after 4 years, 5 years, I forget, 2015, so 5 years. It was 2015. This Daikensho, this great awakening happened. There is a recognition that there's more letting go that needs to happen. Even this I am has to go. Because to hold on to even the I am still here, which again at the time, what was also clearly seen was what this I am still here was everything. I guess you could say it was a kind of a oneness experience. It was in everything. It included everybody and everything. But interesting now in retrospect, and even as I give this talk, there is the recognition, there's more to go. It's like it's a never-ending process, even though there's an investigation of thought. When I turn my head that way, I'm looking out a window, but really I'm kind of looking inside my own consciousness, so to speak. It's like this expanded space that's boundless and infinite and quiet. And yet it is this. It's not separate from this what appears to be a physical perception of the world. It's not separate from that. I am is just a thought. The witness is just a thought. And that's a fucking scary thing. Because the mind is built, it's designed to want to hold on to something tangible. And yet to realize there's absolutely nothing tangible to hold on to is a scary thing. And so I invite you to investigate this as I continue to investigate this. You know, I've been questioning this whole thing of teaching. I have a group here in Boise, Dragon's Pearl Sangha. I offer one-on-one sessions based on the living method that I've learned from Fred Davis, who has confirmed my awakening, as have others. And yet awakening, clearing doesn't stop. As long as this form is going to be clearing. And it is up to each of us to continue to clear all the time. To let go, essentially, to let go of all of it. All that we knew, all that we believe, all that we think, all that we even experience. Let go of the we, let go of the I, let go of the am. Just let go. What's that? What's that? That's you. This is you. This. No I, no observer. No observed. No observer observed. No subjective, no objective. No out there, no in here. In here, out there, same thing. Inner space, outer space, same thing. Awareness, perception, same thing. So really look. Be a warrior. Look. Face it. Face the most existential aspect of your being, your own existence. Whose existence is that? Is it yours? Is it? Well, I needed this. This is what's going on here, and I share this with you. Hopefully this has resonated with some of you. It resonates here. And I guess the impulse was a felt need of sharing this and articulating this to continue to encourage this to let go. Completely, absolutely, 100% let go. And I encourage you to do the same. Thank you for listening.